morning, good afternoon, or good evening, as always, whenever, wherever, however you're watching this. I am, you are, we be here together. It is great to see you again. I don't really see you. I don't know why I said that. That's just odd. This is a deeper dive into this past Sunday sermon here at Tuckasegee. I encourage you, if you haven't already, you can go back and watch that on Facebook or YouTube, or download the app and look at there. All kinds of different ways to see that. But we are continuing our walk through Paul's letter to the church in Colossians. And this past Sunday, we in the first 8 verses. And one of the things that really jumped at me, and we talked about it a little bit Sunday, and I want to just lead into it a little bit more here, was this guy Epaphras. And he's one of those people that you've probably never even heard of, or you've read through this and you just kind of skip through it. And you're like, whatever. And if you read through all of Paul's letters, he's always quick to name off this list of people. And there's a whole list of people in the Bible that you would only know if you were doing like Bible trivia. Like, we don't really think about them or know who they are or concentrate on them, but they play an important, vital role. And it's a reminder for us, and Epaphras, I think, is a great example to us and a reminder of the importance of the unknown and often underappreciated faithful ministers of Christ. I think that was one of the greatest titles and one of the greatest things that Paul says about Epaphras here in Colossians 1:8, when he says, hey, you've learned all this stuff from Epaphras, who is a faithful minister of Christ on your behalf and has made known to us your love in the Spirit. It's like, hey, everything we know about you, we've known from this guy Epaphras, who, man, dude, he is crazy. He just loves you guys, and he's excited about the gospel. And he's excited about what God's doing in the church there, and he's told us all about you. And man, I just tell you, that's just a great thing. And it's so often we get caught up with the fact that we are not the man, that we're just like, well, I mean, who am I? I'm not the pastor. I don't do these things. We're not in the front. And there's so much more that goes on in the church. I said it Sunday in one of my Bibles when I preach like youth conferences or different things like that. I always read it, and it's a sticky note there that says, hey, I may not be the one who changes this generation, but I may reach the one who does. I may not be the one that everybody looks at. It's like, oh, right, that's the Billy Graham or the Charles Spurgeon or the C.S. Lewis of our generation. But I could be the person who reaches those people. I was thinking about that when I was kind of thinking about Epaphras, and I started kind of Googling it and looking around. Googling it, I guess that's what it is, right? And I was like, and you've heard of C.S. Lewis, most likely, if you've been in church for any time, but you've heard of C.S. Lewis or Charles Spurgeon or Billy Graham. Even outside the church, you've heard of these people. But have you ever heard of Hugo Dyson or Robert Eaglin or Mordecai Ham? And the truth of the matter is, most of us, right, unless you're just a history nerd or like, I don't know who these people are. Well, Hugo Dyson was one of the friends, along with J.R.R. Tolkien, but you probably heard of him, that was with C.S. Lewis when he converted and became a Christian, went from theism to simple theism to true Christianity. Robert Eaglin was a primitive Methodist pastor who led Charles Spurgeon to Christ. Mordecai Ham was an evangelist, and he might have been famous back then, but nowhere near as famous as one of the people who came to Christ at one of his crusades, which would be Billy Graham. And so the inference there is for us to understand that we are not all called to, quote unquote, I like doing this, quote unquote, full-time ministry. Right now, okay, church people, back up. I know that we are all called to full-time ministry. We just don't all get paid. But the truth of the matter is, just like what Paul says about Epaphras, and I'm pointing down because that's where my Bible is, just like Paul said about Epaphras, we are all called to be faithful ministers of Christ. And it's important for us to do that, right? We're all called to be faithful to his ministry, to serving him. When he talks about faithful ministers, that word minister there doesn't just mean pastor like we're thinking. It's servant to Christ. He is a servant. He is living for Christ. And that's what we're called to do. To live to his glory, to be obedient to his words. And he has called us, and he tells us, right, to seek after him and to see his will in his word, to communicate and be in conversation with him in prayer, and to live out his love, right? He told his disciples, hey, love one another just as I've loved you. By this, they will know that you are my disciples. We are called to love the Lord God with all of our heart, mind, and soul, to love our neighbors as ourselves. We are called to take the gospel faithful ministers of Christ to all the ends of the earth, to make disciples, to baptize, to do all these things. That is a call and a commission for all who are believers. So that is my call for all of us today, a reminder of the significance of the insignificant, the important role that you can play in somebody else's life. And I would encourage you today to think about those people who other people may think of as insignificant, who have had a significant impact in your life, your ministry of Christ, your faithful ministry of Christ. So that's it. I hope that you would endeavor to be a faithful minister of Christ, that you can make that impact in the one's life, and that you would also give thanks to God for all those who have made an impact in your life as well. I hope that you are doing well. Hope that you're staying warm. I hope that you are plugged into a church somewhere. You can plug in here at Tuckasegee or any of the many gospel-believing churches in the area where you're at. As always, you can send us any questions, comments, or concerns, and we will get back to you on those. I hope that you have a great day. I hope that you stay warm. I hope you get out of that pit. You try to love somebody today, and I hope that you are a faithful minister of Christ.